I'm pleased to be joined on the first part of this show by the Director of Infection Control at Trinitas Hospital, Miss Elizabeth Lockerbie. Welcome.
Thank you.
Now, you and I were chatting one day, and you said, Mayor, if you ever need someone on your TV show to share stories about infection control, I'm your person.
That's right.
So welcome.
Thank you very much.
And one of the things I'd like to know is what exactly is your position at the hospital?
I am the Director of Infection Control. I have been there for the past 3.5 years, and we work on coordinating communication and efforts to prevent any kind of transmission of infection from one patient to another, to our visitors, or to our staff.
So you strictly deal with the infections that may occur in a hospital?
There's always a little bit of a few other things, other related duties, but yes, mainly we deal with infections within the hospital or within any of our outpatient areas that we have at the hospital, whether it be renal dialysis or the wound center, any type that they would have a problem in those areas, they would give us a call.
There was recently an article in the New York Times, the Star Ledger, detailing how this happens in hospitals. Did you see that article?
I did not see that particular article, but it's going to be, the articles are going to be coming fast and furious, I do think, in the future, because it's unfortunate as people are debilitated, they are very susceptible. And when we use antibiotics, the bacteria and the pathogens mutate, and when people are debilitated, those bacteria become very virulent sometimes, and people are simply very susceptible.
Now, Elizabeth, are there any special requirements for your type of job? What's your background?
The state and federal regulations prefer to have a person who is certified in infection control, and both myself and Michelle Gillis-Harry, who's the other person in the infection control department, we're both certified in infection control, which is a national certification, and we must update that every 5 years. Both of us are RNs. I'm a BSN. Michelle has a master's in micro, and I am currently getting my master's in nursing.
We hear a lot about patient safety, and what is Trinitas Hospital doing about patient safety?
Patient safety has always been a big concern at Trinitas, and it's always been part of our mission to the community. Patient safety is a whole attitude that we try to foster among all the staff, that people are aware of their surroundings, what's going on, and try to look at the risks and the problems before they develop so that we can prevent errors.
Now, are there goals on a national safety plan?
There is a whole set of national patient safety goals that have been developed by the Joint Commission, which is the accrediting body for hospitals. And those national patient safety goals now number 15. They cover everything from how you give medication, safety during surgery to make sure we don't do the wrong surgery in the wrong site. And they do have specific goals directed towards helping to prevent healthcare acquired infections, and that's directly related to infection control.
Now, every so often you read the story about the guy with a broken leg, and they come in and set the other leg or something, and how do you?
That comes under the National Patient Safety Goals, and what they do is there is a reconciliation that before any work is done on the patient, everybody agrees that it's the left arm that was broken, and we're going to set the left arm, and everybody agrees to that before we move on, and the patient is aware of that before the patient is under any kind of anesthetic.
Okay.
And that's a reconciliation that they do, and that's nationwide.
So in other words, instead of the doctor coming in and saying, I'm going to operate on your left leg, and the guy says, oh, it's not my left leg that's bothering me, it's my right leg.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, so we prevent those types of things.
Because they've happened in the,
not
at Trinitas, but
no, they have not happened at Trinitas, but those ugly stories come from someplace.
Right. What's the best way to protect the patients? Is there a Bill of Rights? Or
there is a Bill of Rights that protects the patients and tells them exactly what their rights are, and that's given to them in their admission packet. But when you come into the hospital, and my focus
Nobody
is
wants
infection,
to read anything at that point, right?
Exactly, and people are
they're
very overwrought.
They're enough.
Exactly. But just a few basics, and from my perspective, that basic is to wash your hands and pay attention to what your caregivers are doing. You have every right to ask people to wash their hands before they touch you, to make sure that you are protected with with There's a lot of things in the hospital that, trust me, you do not want to be associated with. It's a little collecting place.
Well, the hospital, based on its mission, is infectious to begin with.
It is, and
You
it's
know.
just unfortunate because when people come to the hospital, they are usually severely ill, which of course puts them at risk for more things. And where do we have more things? We have them at the hospital. So it's very, very difficult, and that's what we do in infection control, is constantly remind people how do they do things, to make sure that they're doing things correctly, that they're washing their hands, that we're not spreading things from one patient to another, because they are very debilitated.
What can we do, people that visit a hospital? I was in the hospital today for a meeting, and I just went to a boardroom and back, did not interact with any patients or anything, but what can people who visit a hospital do?
If you're visiting a hospital, please stay home if you're ill. A lot of people try to come to the hospital when they have colds, they have flu. We do not allow children in the hospital. You don't want to be bringing
But children could
people
be
back and
susceptible
forth.
to get sick on the way out, right?
Exactly,
'Cause they're
and
not-
it's just young children and the elderly are very susceptible simply because they're at opposite ends of the spectrum. They have their immune system can be compromised very easily, and so we're very, very careful with them. But we ask people when they're ill to just stay home.
And that's probably the biggest thing that
Exactly.
people that are not in the hospital can do. And patients themselves, they can ask for people to wash their hands.
When patients are in the
But if
hospital,
they're ambulatory, do they need to take care of themselves in any way?
yes, there are. There's always sinks. There's always equipment there. We outfitted the hospital 2 years ago with a lot of alcohol foam that's in the halls, as well as the patient room, so that the staff has access to soap and water at every patient room, but they also have access to alcohol, which has also been found to be very effective. Patients can use it, their visitors can use it, doctors, interns, everybody who's coming in and out and it's very easy to use. And the same with, we have alcohol in the hall outside all of the patient rooms, very easily accessible.
So I walk in, I could use the alcohol to wash my
You
hands?
use it on the way in and on your way out.
Oh, you can?
Yep, very easy and very easy.
How
Very
do people
easy
know
to
it's
use.
there? I mean, I've visited people
It's
in the hospital.
visible. Ours are very visible.
Okay.
If you don't see any, ask, or else there's a place I need to put another one.
Oh, that makes sense.
Well,
I never
it
knew
is.
I haven't visited people in the hospital in a while. But
Yes, and if you come in, you'll be seeing a lot of different things in the hospital and the way things are done.
well, that's very interesting. Are there other ways that you work to protect the public?
One of the other ways that we work in infection control is isolation. If a patient comes in and they're infectious or they have a contagious disease, we isolate that patient for their own protection as well as the protection of other patients, the staff, and visitors. And so sometimes you'll have a situation where your family member's in the hospital and you go in to visit and the nurse has, not only does she have gloves on, but she might have a gown, she might have a mask on, and you might be asked to wear those things because the patient, especially if the patient has something that's contagious, tuberculosis, influenza, chicken pox, some of them seem to be very minor, but nonetheless they are very contagious, and we try to keep that down by using isolation precautions.